Hello and welcome to this old copying what everybody else has already done. Going to have a look at a Kurt Vise today. It's one I purchased a couple of years ago, I think, and it turned out to not be as good as had been described to me, and I don't think that was a malicious thing. I just don't think the guy who sold it to me realized how bad it was. Unfortunately, I've deleted or lost the footage of the initial check of the casting, the main casting, where I established that it was like 10th thou out of flat or something, or 10th thou out of parallel, really. Important to know the difference between flatness and parallelism when you're checking things with a surface plate. Anyway, so I've had it sitting around and languishing for a while, and I got the bug last weekend to just get on with it and try and clear some projects off of the bench. The other thing is, frankly, I've found that it's far more enjoyable just to pick up whatever project I feel like that's going to, give me some joy at any given minute and go with that. I'm not doing any of this for money, it's just for the satisfaction, and that tends to make it easier to do the project and make videos about it. But I did have some people express interest in seeing this Kurt Vise repaired, so that's what we're going to do. But before we get to that, I've had some channel stickers come in, so I'd like to show you those. First of all, from My Little Mule. He has a fun channel, and I think the reason he's called it that is he's into Jeeps and off-roading, and I believe that to be a nod to, or an homage to, the very excellent 1980s adventure movie Romancing the Stone.
They told you had a car? They're such comedians. They meant My Little Mule. Pepe.
His channel's really fun. He's got a machine shop that he's making a lot of stuff with, and he refurbs machine tools and gets into scraping and different techniques and, rebuilding tools. All the same kind of things that I like to do. So if you like this channel, strong chance you'll like his if you haven't found out about it yet. So go check him out. And then I was very pleased to get stickers from Aaron at Aaron Engineering. Aaron's a great guy. Another one of the Australian contingent, and boy, there are some great Australian machining and fabrication channels. Really, just awesome. Love all of them. Gets into some fine detail, and I believe he was a machine shop instructor, and he actually has a couple of channels. He has his one where he does his mostly manual machining, and he has another one where he focuses on CNC machining. They're both terrific. So I'll put links to all his channels below, and I strongly advise you to go check him out. He's got a great sense of humor, like most Australians do, and a wealth of knowledge to share as well. So go check him out. Now, this Kurt Vise then. What's that all about? Let's go and have a look at how I started fly cutting it. I'm setting up with a homemade fly cutter here, which uses a CNMG insert. It's really not ideal because more clearance would be better for clearing chips and surface finish, but it works okay. And the reason I'm using this is because I thought being able to do both rails in a single pass with the fly cutter able to extend over both rails would be a good approach. Adjusting the knee always makes me feel like the little man on Camberwick Green.
Right, we're just coming to the end of the first pass now, and as I fully expected, the heaviest cutting is right at the end where the fixed jaw is, so that's where there was no wear, and the tool has lightly touched the surface of the vise on this rail, but barely touched it. Actually, it's not touched it at all over there, only at the start. So I'm just going to take a thou at a time. I want to take off a minimum amount of material until I get it to clean up everywhere.
Right, over here at the surface plate, and I've given it a cursory clean to get the worst of the vile scunge off of it. It's going to need a lot more degreasing yet, but I wanted to make sure I got all the crap off the underside, which I actually did before I put it on the mill table, of course, but make sure nothing transferred with it, and just do some spot checks and see how flat it was. I ended up taking off a total of 10 thou on the non-worn areas here before I got what looks like complete cleanup. It isn't complete cleanup. There are dings and scratches and things in it, but those won't affect the usability. It's just about having two coplanar surfaces. So rather than sweep it, because it is still rough, and sweeping over these kind of bumps can kind of throw off the zero of the test indicator, I'm going to spot check it. So I'll set 0 in an arbitrary location. There. And then what I'll do is raise and lower at various points. I've seen videos by machine speed. This one is also 5 tenths. Oh yeah, there's a here, like, raising here. I'm not sure how to that. So, oops. Yeah, mine's about out. So again, I'll check 0. Then there. Oops, reject. Yeah, mine's 5 tenths. So here. Mine's 1. Mine's 2 there. Mine's 5 tenths there. Mine's 1.5. No, so it's right here. That's interesting. Mine's 1. Minus 2.5. So it's not as good as I had thought I would get it, honestly. And it's definitely not flat. You know, I can see undulations, but it's certainly way improved over what it was. So I think what I'm going to do is blue up more of this plate and just have a look at that, and then decide whether to try scraping it in a bit better, which might be an interesting exercise. So as you can see, got some pretty serious high spots, which is no surprise. Question is what to do about it. To be honest with you, I think what I want to do is stone off the underside, because I just found some scratches in there that I wasn't aware of before, and take one more light fly cut on it and then do this again. Right, so one thing I want you to be aware of is that I am not an experienced machine rebuilder or machinist, and consequently a lot of the time I don't actually know what I'm doing. I'm just trying things based on what I've seen. So if I do something horrific, say so and say why. Preferably point to a better example. But despite my amateurism, I still get things made quite nicely, so I don't think I do too bad. All I'm doing here is trying to get off any high spots that are maybe throwing it out. Consider this more of a practice thing. I don't actually need this vise. I've got a brand new Kurt 6-inch vise. I either want to know whether this can be recovered so that I can recover it and get it off of my bench, or whether it's junk and needs to be scrapped so that I can get it off of my bench. And then potentially it's a good practice piece for some scraping. Not this side. I'm working on the basis that this side shouldn't really have much wear on it. I will check that. But mostly I found some deep scratches, and I just want to take any high points off. So at this point, we'll just wipe that down and give it a rock test. I did do a rock test before and it seemed okay. Aha! Universal cleanant. Best universal grit, grime and effluent remover. Bugger for short. If Omo doesn't whiten it and Daz doesn't brighten it, bugger it. I'm not expecting magic things here. Huh. I don't know what to make of that, honestly. So it's high there, but it doesn't rock, unlike on this side. So it's still a good plane. I mean, it's just a vise, so I'm not going to worry about the underside. but I think it's worth cutting another tooth out off the top of that. And what I may do is try it with a smaller end mill and do multiple passes rather than do the fly cut. So let's look at that, and then we'll do the bluing of this surface again. Okay, here we are at the mill. I'm going to set the height here because it seems like that's the high spot. It doesn't really matter because I'm just going to go backwards and forwards until it cleans up. So so much for my fly cutting. This is going to take a little while, so I'll bring you back periodically. Well, this isn't going very well. The high-speed steel end mill that I'm using, I thought would do a good job, and I think this thing is all over the place a bit. I think I'm going to just have to get a bit more aggressive with it. I think I'm going to put in a face mill and actually take a decent heavy cut and remove some material and just get it plainer. I'm going to try that because I've got nothing to lose on this thing. It's leaving a really good surface finish and it's making proper chips. So I think that's it. I think this is just really good cast iron, and I needed to just get on it properly. I think this is cutting it nicely and stand a chance of recovering this vise. Well, that went pretty well. Nice surface finish off of that face mill. Look at that. But this is hot. I did not expect it to get that hot. So I may not have been using ideal parameters. I don't know. What is interesting is the chips that come off don't usually get that on cast iron. It usually sort of just powders off. So I don't know what to make of that. I don't know what grade of cast iron this is. Being that it's Kurt, it's going to be something good. So what I'm going to do now is let it cool down actually overnight, and I'm going to do a finishing cut of just like 1 thou, just to smooth this out, because there is a little bit of tramming, you know, ridges here, which maybe that's from it getting hot, or maybe it's out of tram. I don't know, but I'm going to do another finishing cut, let it cool off, do a finishing cut, and then we'll see what we've got. And I'm kind of going to go with whatever that is. I may scrape it. I'll certainly check it. If it's not better than it was, then I may abandon the project. I don't know. Right, well, this cast iron is some tough stuff, tough and hard. Cast iron, of course, comes in a great deal of varieties. When cast iron gets mentioned, it's fairly typical to just think of grey cast iron, which is your sort of lowest, well, not lowest of the low. It's a certain type of cast iron. It's easy to machine, and that's kind of what we're familiar with in the home shop for sure. But there's other cast iron alloys which contain differing levels of carbon and which have different properties. Cast iron can also be heat treated and therefore hardened and tempered and annealed, all of those good things. So Kurt, being a very high quality organization, of course, know how to handle and process different kinds of cast iron. And so this was way harder than I had thought it was going to be. So my 2-inch face mill was somewhat successful, but not perfectly, and it cut through it fine. But I did get some tramming issues and distortion, and this part got incredibly hot. So I spoke to my friend Aaron, who is a tool and die maker of many years experience, and he helps me out with a lot of really good machining advice. And he said, well, probably what you want to do there is go to a smaller end mill, 3/4 inch end mill, run about 2000 RPM, 5 thou depth of cut, and 1/8 of an inch step over. In the event, I started out running at 1500 RPM spindle speed just because I tend to start on the slow side of things that way. And that is working out very nicely. I've already cut the first rail, and that seems to be giving me an excellent finish, and I can't feel the tramming lines from the step over. It's just very, very smooth. So I'm very, very stoked actually to see how that has come out. And what I'll do now is cut the second rail exactly the same way. I'm tempted to go up to 2000 RPM as Aaron suggested I should, but I sent him a picture of the results and he said the same thing as I thought, which is, well, it's going well, don't mess with it at this point. So I'm just going to run it the same, keep both rails the same. I'm running my cool mist to keep it cool because clearly that's necessary. And it's a 3/4 inch end mill with carbide inserts. Now, I do actually have another one of these Kurt Vises, an old one that needs some love and attention. So if this one is successful, I'll do the other one as well, and I might run that at 2000 RPM, just see how it works out. So having done this, I don't think I actually needed to do that intermediate step with the 2-inch face mill. I think my fly cutting was enough to take off the out of parallel material, and this is a great finishing op. So if I do the other one, if I need to machine that, then that's how I'll do that. But hey, it's a learning experience, and it was just very interesting to take 20 thou off with that 2-inch face mill and see how it went. I mean, machine handled it great, but I certainly should have used coolant. So I've got a board up there just to deflect some of the chips and the coolant a bit as I run it. So let's take a look.
Well, I don't know how good that is, but I doubt if we're going to get it any better. Well, that looks like 5/10, and I'm very happy with that. That's 5/10 across both rails. So what we'll do now is I'll clean this and put some fresh blue on, and we'll see whether it's worth scraping these. Probably is. Happy with that though.
I've been over this more carefully with the height gauge, and the surfaces are basically between a half and a thou out of parallel. When I sweep, I'm getting roughly 7/10. So the resolution on the scale is 5/10. So that's why it may read 1 here, but it might actually be 7. But the resolution is a half, so you know it'll either show -1/2 or -1. So it's very roughly, based on my crude approach, 7/10 out of parallel with its base. And honestly, I think that's plenty good for this. So what I'm going to do now is just blue this up. I've blued up my surface plate, and we'll just get an idea of flatness and see whether it's worth giving it a scrape. Right, so lots learned there. First of all, the fact that the cast iron is very, very hard. Don't know what grade cast iron it is, but or whether it's been heat treated and hardened, but it's certainly nice to know that my tool is very hard.
Oof. It's going to be very popular.
It was quite a learning experience. The high-speed steel end mill I tried didn't touch it, but the carbide tools I used did very, very well indeed. I didn't realize how much heat I was generating when I used the face mill, and in the end, I need not have done that face milling operation at all. I could have gone straight from the fly cutting to the finishing cut, but that's all right. I learned some stuff about face milling at the same time. So we've managed to get the vise from somewhere around 10 thou out of parallel with its base to the top of the rails to under 1 thou. And I think that's very good for a vertical mill that was made in 1960. So I'm very, very happy with that. In the next video, I'm going to scrape the surfaces a little bit and just try and improve the flatness. As much for the practice of scraping as anything, I think it's good to go as it is. I'm going to do that, and then we'll take a look at the rest of the components and see what other work needs to be done. Thanks for joining. If you're a new subscriber, thanks very much for subscribing. Really appreciate it. Be aware that as we near the 5,000 subscriber threshold, there's a prize draw coming up. So be on the lookout for that. But in the meantime, thanks to everyone for following the channel and everyone who's stuck with me. Really appreciate it. For now, may your dimensions be in tolerance and your surface finishes chatter-free. Be seeing you.